Welcome to the most forward-thinking, inspirational podcast in this reality. The show designed to challenge everything we've been taught. If you've ever felt there had to be more to life, more to existence, then you're listening to the right podcast. Time to open your mind and dive in. This is the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast.
And here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about letting go. This is one of those things that is it, I don't know, is it a touchy subject? Is it an issue? Is it a soft spot? Do we even know what it is? What is letting go? What is the idea that we are holding on to? What is it that we can't let go of? What is going on? I recently posted earlier today. Actually, this will be a delayed release. I recently posted. Let's go back to what we were talking about. I recently posted a meme on the Instagram account. It says, when you choose peace, it comes with a lot of goodbyes. When you choose peace, it comes with a lot of goodbyes. And this one, as I was posting it, I started writing a blurb about it. And it's obviously one that hit a little bit heavier for me than I had anticipated. I love the idea of growth, of change, of, I don't know what the term is, creating something new. There was a time in my life where I don't want to say comfortable, but maybe comfortable or maybe afraid of what comes next. I don't know. I don't know the exact phrase for that. Because I certainly wasn't comfortable, but I was deathly afraid of next, if that makes any sense. And this was also back when I was drinking and doing recreational drugs and assorting with all kinds of nefarious individuals and having the quote unquote time of my life. You look at this stuff and you say to yourself, all of these things, all of these addictions, all of these distractions that we put into ourselves are I want to say fascinating when you look back on them and when you see them kind of for what they are. Terrifying when you look back on them and you think to yourself, ew, cringe, that was me. But while you're living it, while you're in the moment, it doesn't seem like anything other than what it feels like it should be. An interesting thing that's been happening to me recently is copious amounts of my past 10, 12 years ago have resurfaced thanks to the wonderful use of Facebook. And I'm a kind soul. I don't want to ignore or dismiss people. Plus, I'm also interested in kind of what people have been doing over the past 10 years. But there's been 4 collective groups of entities that have all reached out to me from when I was a DGen. And I look at this and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Sorry, I couldn't not do it. And I think to myself, what's this trying to teach me? Or what's this trying to show me? Like, is it a reminder of how far I've come? Are these people asking for actual help? Because there's so many people out there that, again, are locked in a situation where they don't even realize they're in. And again, it's like, how do I put this? It's not that they're in a situation that they don't realize that they're in. It's that the situation that they're in doesn't bother them. And the only reason it bothers you is because you see your potential through them, essentially. In other words, for anyone that you feel pity for, it's like, man, if I were you, this is what I would do. And I feel bad that you're not doing it. But that's you looking at them through your your trauma, your tint, your style, what you've lived through, your experiences, your unique perspective on life itself. I look at this stuff and I think to myself, this is here to teach me something. This is here to show me how far I've come. This is here to remind me if I'm going to falter or fail or flaw, this is where you could be. And it's another one of those things too, where it's like, I'm not knocking anybody from my past. I love each and every one of you. But it's one of those things where it's like, this is a reminder, a gentle reminder that you're on track. You're doing what you need to be doing. The alternative is this. Had you never left or had you never changed course, this is what you'd be doing tonight. And you look at it and you're like, holy fuck. Now, granted, it's these people's lives, and these people don't believe that that there's anything that they can do to change it because they think that this is just where it is. But that's what you thought when you were there too. When you were stuck with the drinking and the drugs and the this and that and whatever it is, and not a lot of people are like, oh, I can't relate. I can't relate. I don't do a lot of drugs. I can't express enough that consuming alcohol, the poison that is alcohol. Oh, wait a second here. There's the tinfoil hat that we keep talking different design, but the same tinfoil hat. I'm talking about crazy conspiracy theories again about poisoning the alcohol. Like, we've been tricked. Our lives, to anyone asking what I just did on the podcast, we are actually branching into video right now. So this one's being recorded. What I'm going to do with it, I don't fully know. We have to get the YouTube channel up and running, obviously, but look at this shit. We're episode 303, I think. We're branching into video finally, which is something that everybody did, from the get-go. But one of my biggest problems with video is, again, like I said, I never ever wanted this to be about me. And if you put my face out there, it becomes about me. This is more about the message, and I'm more in tune with trying to deliver a message. So it's a big jump for me to do video and to almost make this about me. I hope that I can continue on this message without any of it being about me, even though we're talking about how I view things. Anyway, it's also about how you wake up. So I was talking about finding yourself stuck in the past, finding yourself in perspective, finding yourself looking at things through your view, through their view. This is one of those moments in life. Like the meme says, when you choose peace, it comes with a lot of goodbyes. So what I did was I unloaded everything. When it came time for me to be at peace with my mind, there are so many moments in time and so many points in time where you're like, okay, this is me blaming them. This is because of them. I'm in this situation because of them. The alcohol, like I was saying, the alcohol is the poison that locks you into this strange belief system, this strange finger pointy system, this denouncing system. And the greatest thing about alcohol, to its own detriment or to its own, I guess, success, the alcohol success, is that alcohol, when it's in your body and in your system, will tell you that you're okay. It'll tell you that alcohol is not the problem. Bitch, I'm here to help. I'm helping you. I'm alcohol. I'm helping you get through the problem. But fucking alcohol is the problem. It is the cause and solution to all of my problems. Alcohol is the problem. Alcohol is the problem. Yet our entire lives, especially anyone that's, 30, 40, 50, our whole lives on the television, it said, drink alcohol, must be legal drinking age, party, party, party. So from the time that you understand what a television is until the time that you can drink, you've been bombarded with booze ads. It's hardwired into your facade to consume alcohol, that it's normal and it's okay to do it. And honestly, it is. If you want to do it, do it. If you're living the dream, great. But there's a ton of people right now that are waking up, that are confused, that are fucking mad at the fact that they've been tricked, duped, and manipulated. And I get that. I'm one of you. I'm fucking furious that I got played. But then you ask yourself, who played who? Who made who? Akadaka. How did I get played if I became aware of being played? And how would I have ever been born into a situation that I would have allowed myself to get played unless I set it up before I got here? Now we're talking soul contracts. Now we're really drifting into the idea that there's something about where we are. But can we talk about that openly? Are we allowed to have conversations? I don't know. I don't know, because I think it's growing. I think that for a very, very long time, if you mentioned anything that was outside of the realm of what was on television, you got met with, well, do your own research. Oh, you think you can just make stuff up? You think you know more than the scientists? The more you go down this rabbit hole, the more you're like, motherfuck, every ounce of everything was a trick. I don't know how to put that without it sounding like dark and mysterious. But it's not a bad thing. You had to have the bullshit to become aware of it. It goes along with the same adage that if you had 24-hour beautiful weather and sunshine all the time, you end up with a desert. Right? So you need the rainstorms, you need the ups and the downs. There's no such thing as a wave that doesn't have a crest. So you don't have you can't have waves without ups and downs. You can't surf. The ocean wouldn't work. Ups and downs. It's an absolute must. So when you can learn to appreciate the downs as part of life, you understand that I can't be upset with the downs because it's what makes the ups so good. In the infamous words of Beavis and Butthead, you got to have stuff that sucks to have stuff that's cool. For me, drinking and living the life that I was living was slowly eating me alive. And I didn't have an answer for it. I didn't understand it. I didn't quite comprehend what it was that I was dealing with, seeing, feeling. I just knew that at that moment in time, in that essence, where I was, in my gut, in my heart of hearts, in my true essence of being, it didn't sit right with me. It didn't feel right. It wasn't right. And that's how I knew that there had to be something more. What it was, I didn't know, but I did know that it wasn't this. So it's peculiar now when the people do come back, and why they're all coming back now, why like 4 separate groups of people have come back into my life from 10 years ago, 12 years ago, as a reminder. And now keep in mind, I quit drinking in 2017, but I started transitioning out of the blind mindset in probably 2012, 2013. I didn't know what that looked like either. And it was all just a course. It was all just step by step, piece by piece. The funny thing is, every step of the way that we think that we know that we're doing something, we think that we've got it figured out. Even right now, as I sit here and speak on this, it's almost like I kind of know what I'm talking about. But I don't want it to come across that way because I don't have a fucking clue what I'm talking about. All I'm doing right now in this episode is expressing my essence in a moment of time to hopefully share with you, the listener, an understanding that what you're going through, you're not alone in it, that there's enough people out there going through it that, fuck, I'm making a podcast about it. The clip, when you choose peace, it comes with a lot of goodbyes. Once you've said those goodbyes, once I said those goodbyes, I went into virtual solitude for about a year. I'd given up all the drinking, all the drugs. God, I loved cocaine. And there's a whole other story about being an addict and all that sort of shit. And when you're in an addict, when you feel that way, when you're living that moment in life, it's all secrets. Everything's a secret. You can't let people really truly know what you're doing, even though you feel that you're super happy in the life of the party and all that sort of shit. The amazing thing too, when you're on cocaine, is how many fucking people do cocaine. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's one of those shocking moments in adulthood. You're like, holy fuck. But when you get off it, when you get away from it, you look back quietly and you're like, wow, why? Right? And when you actually analyze why, you see that every single person doing it, and they don't even know it probably at the time that they're doing it, because I didn't believe it. If somebody had told me you hate your life, I'd be like, fuck you. I'm living a great life. I would never have accepted it or allowed it. But when you quietly hear it and understand it and comprehend it, you're like, of course. I'm not I'm not creating a better life by consuming alcohol and cocaine and cigarettes and crazy, unnecessary moments in time. I'm trying to escape my everyday life. I'm trying to create this world where it's it's almost like this is the reality. The reality is this is how I feel all the time. Truthfully, the high that cocaine gave and drinking and the partying and all that sort of stuff, that brief high that came with a huge crash, that comes from living a purposeful life. And it sounds so fucking cliche for me to say that, but it comes from living a purposeful life. And it's beautiful. And I don't mean a purposeful life of where am I going to go? Who am I going to party with? Who am I going to validate my energy through? A purposeful life being, what can I do? What can I contribute now that's going to make tomorrow better? What can I do today that's going to help me or you or anybody in the future? And why we don't look at things that way is because, again, the news exists, the media exists, everybody's at war with everybody else, and they make it appear that everyone's trying to take. So if you see the world trying to take and trying to protect their own and trying to preserve whatever it is that they've got, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to be like, well, if they're all doing it, I'm doing it too. I'm just one man. I can't change the world. But when you understand that your world is you, the only thing in your world is you. And I don't mean you, the person that you think is standing here on earth. I mean, the entirety of the experience that you're having is you. It's fucking you. All of it. You have to witness everything that you're specifically witnessing to create the path and journey that you need to go down. It's all you. I've had people say to me like, oh yeah, sure. Well, do you think the kids that are starving and whatchamacallit deserve that or chose that? Or the war-torn children over there deserve that or chose that? And I don't know how to explain that to somebody who's dead asleep and doesn't want to pay attention to it, but that exists for you to observe. It's a contrast. If you think your life is shit, well, at least you're not somewhere in Botswana getting shot up or whatever it is. Yeah, there's contrast to it all. And again, this is the best way that I can describe this. You are the center of the universe. Every single thing that you've ever experienced, what creates inside you or a part of you, the version of you that's playing this game. Therefore, everything and every story and every possible encounter and every exchange of energy anywhere, ever in the history of anything, if you specifically observed it, it was for you. All of it, everything was for you to do with it what you think you need to do. This game is yours. This game is yours to play. This game is the one that you're playing. Can you make mistakes? I don't think so. You either win or you learn, right? But what's a win? It's nothing. It's just what we feel. Oh, this worked out. I feel great. Oh, this is the situation in. I feel terrible. Ooh, the situation's getting worse. I feel even more terrible. Ooh, the situation's getting even worse. I should do drugs about it. Right? Compound effect. Are you going to compound positively or are you going to compound negatively? And we're all guilty of it. It's not like I'm sitting here myself being an angel, a saint. Personally, I just recently started the carnivore diet. And as an overweight individual who was dealing with fucking tons of issues, I'm at the gym. I'm working on all these things. I'm comprehending and understanding. I've tried everything, right? But there are certain things that are and aren't working. And I can tell you this, after 5 days of carnivore, which is cutting out everything except meat, all the inflammation, not all, but the majority of the inflammation is gone out of my body. And it's wild. You don't need meds. You don't need this. You need to start removing things. You don't need to add things. That's how we got in this mess in the first place. So I sit here and I'm blown away by what I can accomplish, what I can achieve. Everything that I think I know. And this is one of the biggest problems too. All the shit that you think you know, all of the shit that you've got inside your head that is absolute fact, that is the defining moments of who I am as an individual. If you can't question those, they become limiting beliefs. and they lock you into where you are. If you can't challenge what you understand as to be truthful or reality or anything like that, then you're your own prison guard and you don't even fully understand it or know it or see it. And that's okay too. Because again, this is a journey that never ends. Right? You think you're out of this when you die? There's no way. There's no way that consciousness just dissipates this way. Obviously, we change form, but you go to another level. You change, you adapt, you grow. You've used up your time here. Your meat suit has a specific amount of time in this realm. Your avatar, whatever you want to call it. I mean, avatar is a great way to describe it because they enter those beings and they're on a different world. That's what we did. We entered our meat suits and here we are. Whether it's digital or whether it's the physical reality, I don't know. Personally, I mean, scientifically, they've dissected the atom, and inside the atom is quarks, and quasons, which is just pure forms of energy. And when you look at things like that, you're like, okay, well, then we're probably in a holodeck because the building blocks of physical matter are energy. Well, I see. Oh, I see that. Another problem that we have with the general understanding of where we are is that there's infinite greatness, is the implication. Space just grows and grows and grows and is bigger and bigger. And if it's infinite greatness, there has to be infinite smallness. So for us to think that we are the entity, I mean, defining infinite greatness, we've all seen that meme where it's like, this is the moon and this is Earth and this is the sun and this is the red dwarf planet and this is the blue dwarf planet, this is the black dwarf planet. And these planets are just astronomically massive. They're 8 billion times the size of Earth. The human brain will say, oh, 8 billion times the size of Earth. That must mean there's 8 billion more room for people the size of us. But no, they would grow proportionate to the size of their planet. They'd be giants. They'd be massive. And if they were giants and they were massive and they had the ability to travel through space, they would build the appropriately sized spaceships and they would travel through space. And we, Earth, would be a speck of dust compared to the size of their intake engines traveling through the vacuum of space. But no, every single time anyone mentions the infinite greatness of space, every single possibility of anything that they can encounter is either an arachnid or insectoid type alien or something relatively the same size as us, but not something that would look at us like the size of a pea or a speck of dust. And that's what comes with infinite greatness. So we have to completely disband the idea that we are some sort of whatever we've been told that we are. I've kind of gotten off a little bit off track there. The goodbyes that come with the peace are great. I reintroduced friends as we progressed through. I reintroduced those that aligned with the energy or those that kept up with the energy. And I didn't ask anybody to. I didn't announce anything. I just kind of slid out the back door of society and created who I needed to create. And there were people whose energy just naturally came with it. For me, I had maybe 10% of my friends, probably even less. But I've got 5 amazing friends right now, and they came from my past. And I've probably got 5 amazing friends that I love and adore that have come from the change. The balance that I feel is amazing. The challenge that I have inside me, the desire to overcome whatever's coming, is beautiful. The fact that we're helping people every single day simply because I made the choice that it was time to step up, time to comprehend, time to understand, and time to help people understand that they're in a spot that they can easily get out of. It doesn't matter if you've got $5 in your pocket or 50 million, right? That feeling of being trapped, that feeling of upsetness, that gut visceral feeling inside you doesn't need to be there. That feeling right now that you've got that says that you're trapped doesn't need to be there. And no matter what it is that you're doing, because your life is what your life is, no matter where or who or what or why you are. Choosing to feel the way you feel can be altered, can be changed, can be adapted. It really can. And it's absolutely stunning and beautiful to do it. The 4 people that have shown back up in my life and reminded me of who I was 12 years ago, you guys are nuts and hilarious at the same time. And I'm so grateful that I can see a gauge as to how far I've come, because no matter how much work you do on yourself, it doesn't matter. You'll always spot your own flaws and you'll always beat yourself up and you will always be your own worst enemy. But I get to see a gauge. And why it happened right now, I guess it needed to. I guess maybe there was a moment of weakness, or I was getting sad, or whatever it was. But I got to see a glimpse of what they're still doing. Certain people. And again, I'm not knocking those people. They're doing what they want to do. And I'm the one that wanted out. There's another one that says, oh yeah, quit drinking and you'll find out who your friends really are. That's bullshit. Right? When you quit drinking, you're the one that abandoned them. They didn't want to change. They didn't want to do anything. Don't fucking point the finger at them. When you quit drinking, you remove yourself. It's not them. It's you. You made that choice. To them, you abandoned them. Right? So don't ever look at it that way at all. These are our choices. This is what we've done in life. This is how life is. And there's a million ways to look at quitting drinking as well, too, now that we're on this topic quickly. So many people are like, I'm giving up something for the rest of my life and I'm going to become an addict. And this is a personal thing. I'm going to put this button right here.
Disclaimer. If you're going to soundbite any of this podcast, you must soundbite it in its entirety for consistency and context.
So, controversial point. I don't believe in AA. I believe AA is just swapping out one addiction for another. And what that means to me is, I mean, there's another meme floating around that I've seen. You ever drink so much you got to sit around in a circle and talk about it for the rest of your life? Right? I also don't like the idea that somebody says you're an alcoholic the rest of your life. That's fucking prison mentality. Why would I be an alcoholic for the rest of my life? You know, why would I beat myself up for the rest of my life because of some things I did in the past? You know why you do that? Because you're trained to. This world, this society, this realm doesn't want you to ever truly love yourself, which is a weird thing, right? Because true love is kind of where we're headed. It's the ultimate goal. So when you decide that you love you for you, she loves me for me. I don't even know who that was. Who sang that song? I know that was me that said that. But when you find out who you are, you move past it. I don't want to constantly relive the idea of needing to drink. I don't like the idea of Alcoholics Anonymous. I know it helps people. And I know that coming out of alcohol, being an alcoholic for a while might be a great idea to go and connect and share with people that are doing it. But you're still living it. You're living the mindset of an alcoholic. I need to go and meet people and talk about this. I also don't like a lot of the steps in the recovery program. Right? Because imagine one of the steps, and I've had this conversation before too. I've done a full podcast episode on this. I've had people wrong me in the past, and I've had people come and apologize to me. And the funny thing about a wronging and an apology is this: if you've ever wronged somebody in the past, and this is what happened to me, an individual got me fired, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because at the moment in time, I'm very loyal to my word. I was working for an individual. And I had side contracts that were growing to the point where I needed more time on my own. And I needed to walk away from that contract, but I was obligated for another 6 months. And so that morning I had 3 new contracts sitting on my desk that I conflict of interest couldn't sign. But that was $30,000 at the time for me, which was more than I would have made the next 6 months anyway with this other contract that I had on the go. I was sitting there and I noticed I'd been removed from the group. So I sent a message. I'm like, did I just get fired? He's like, yeah, kind of. We're going in a different direction. I'm like, oh, thank God. So I knew what it was. I knew how it played out. I knew why it was what it was, and I knew who did it, and I knew what this was. And the funny thing about this guy was, I bent over backwards to get this guy a discount and a deal, and he paid a fraction of the cost to get inside this particular program. And he didn't like my style, and it turns out later it wasn't about me. It was that he wanted to work with the head of the company, but he didn't pay the money to do it. Anyway, so he made up a bunch of bullshit, or he spoke his true mind about what he thought about me and how I wasn't necessarily designed to work with him. And maybe he was accurate, maybe he was right, but it got me fired. So to him saying these things got me fired. And to me, luckily, I was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And I sort of backed out that day, signed those contracts, never looked back. But apparently this ate him up for a couple of years, because I got a phone call a few years later from him. And he said, I'm going on this path, this direction in my life, and I don't think I can do it properly without making amends for certain things in my past. And I wanted to apologize for going over your head and getting you fired, is what he said to me. And it was at this moment in time that when he made this call to me, that I was released of, I would say, any wrongdoing that I did to anybody in the past. And I've spoken about this on the podcast before. This is no new stuff. But you may be hearing it for the first time. And think about this. He said this to me, and he didn't give a shit about me. It's the bottom line, right? His consciousness was so bad that he needed my apology or my forgiveness. He needed to hear me say, yeah, bro, it's okay. It's all good. I forgive you. Right? How egoic is that? So think about this. Imagine this had destroyed my life. And I'd finally moved on. And this fucker calls me up. And he says, I need you to forgive me for what I did. So now, and this is the dark side of things. Imagine it ruined my life. I get over it. He calls me and he needs my forgiveness. Now, this guy is going out of his fucking way to make himself feel better about ruining my life, quote unquote. How selfish is that? Now me, the victim of this guy, I have to relive everything. And I have to forgive him as well? Are you out of your fucking mind? No. I'm telling this story because one of the steps in AA is asking forgiveness. If you're a drunk, you're an asshole most of the time. If you fucking piss people off, why on earth would you ever want to relive it? And who on earth gives you the right to ask forgiveness for fucking them? You're making them suffer twice. The way I look at it, there are people on this planet that I've wronged, and those people have wronged other people, and karma's a bitch. There's a ton of people who fuck me big time because karma's a bitch, right? It's not what you think it is. Karma isn't like tit for tat, If you do this, then that person does it back to you. No, it's if you do this, it's coming back. You throw it out there, it's coming right back to you. So whatever this guy is doing out there, I'm sure it's subpar. And what I mean by that is, and it's not a knock. I know that if this is your style of business, if this is how you choose to view and see things, then you're not authentic. And if you're not authentic, the work you're doing isn't authentic and it doesn't align with you. And it's not working. But that moment in time freed me. It made me realize that I am not worthy enough, or I'm not selfish enough to ask anyone for forgiveness for anything that I may have done in the past. That's not to say if they need it from me or if they need to talk to me that I wouldn't be there. If I've ever wronged anybody in the past and you want to talk to me about it, Adam at the Mental Mastery Alliance, if you're listening to the show right now. And one thing that's cool about that statement, actually, I've said things like that similar in the past, and it turns out that there's a lot of people that I went to high school with, or that's in my past that I knew from before, or wasn't acquainted with, but knew in passing, what have you. A lot of these people have gotten back to me and said, I don't remember you being anything other than funny and or a gentleman and or a kind person. And I like hearing that. It's kind of like, you realize at that point that even your vision of yourself from back then is a lot harder than it was, because back then when we were kids, We were so hard on ourselves because we fucking hated ourselves because we just simply weren't good enough, or at least I wasn't. And I think that I was so rough on myself that I just assumed that everybody viewed me the same way I viewed myself. This is a long episode about your past and all that sort of shit, but man, we do it to ourselves. We imprison ourselves. We fuck ourselves up. But we don't need to. You don't need to be drinking all the time. You don't need to be doing the drugs. You don't need to do anything. When you choose peace, it comes with a lot of goodbyes. And those are really, really good goodbyes. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're having any issues with your past, with anything, if you're having a hard time, you can hit us up on Instagram, instagram.com/The Mental Mastery Alliance. You can send us a DM. You can send us an email. You can text us, 647-338-1265. That's an iPhone. So if you've got iMessage anywhere in the world, that's free. Somebody will answer that message. You can leave a voicemail if you want to have your voice heard. We'll play the voice clips on the show. But if you've got something that you want to say and you want to talk to me directly, send me an email, adam@thementalmasteryalliance.com. If I can help you, I will. There's no charge. There's no catch. There's no nothing. Just send an email. If you need help with something, adam@thementalmasteryalliance.com. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been one hell of a fun show. I feel good. I feel like I needed to get this off my chest. This is a wonderful episode. So, also, it's the first one we put on video. We'll see what we do with this later. I will say this, though. In the infamous words of Red Green, keep your stick on the ice.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Mental Mastery Alliance podcast. Stay connected with us directly through the mentalmasteryalliance.com. You can also join the discussion on Instagram at instagram.com/the Mental Mastery Alliance. Let the team know you're listening by using the hashtag TMMA or tagging us at the Mental Mastery Alliance. To have your voice heard on the show, leave a voicemail or send a text to 647-338-1265. Long distance charges may apply. If you love us, leave us a review. If you hate us, you spend your time in weird ways, but also leave a review. Every review on iTunes tickles the algorithm, helping us grow. Until next time, unity over division. This concludes the most surreal portion of your day.
You got it, Pontiac.